People who lose weight and post their transformation online, they only show this, which is their before and their after, their best point and their worst point. But I've noticed that they never show what happens in between. They don't show the struggle of fat loss when the progress isn't fully there. I'm talking about the periods when, yes, you are losing fat, but you are still struggling with problem areas like your love handles or your belly fat. In this video, I am going to show you my own journey and how a realistic fat loss transformation actually looks like. I'll show you how I lost fat progressively in all areas of my body. So how I lost my face fat, my chest fat, my belly, and my love handles. The first thing I want to say is that anybody can have this transformation. It takes time, but it is possible for anyone of whatever age. Of course, if you don't really care about my story, if you don't really care about how I did it and you just want to know how you can just do your own transformation, I've posted the links to my fat loss programs in my description below. But if you want to actually see my progress from month to month, then here it is. Let's start at the beginning. This was the fattest that I had ever been, over 100 kilograms or just over 220 pounds. It was honestly so terrible. I felt like shit, I looked like shit. I knew something had to change. It was at this point that I did just two things that honestly changed the trajectory of my life. I bought a food scale and a weighing scale, and I used these two scales to track my progress week to week. After 1 month, this was what I looked like. I'd lost about 5 kilograms or 10 pounds, and you could see me smiling in some of the videos. The funny thing though was that it didn't show. You couldn't visually see I'd lost weight. I knew because of course I had been tracking my weight and seeing how much it declined, but it did not show visually. But I didn't let this deter me. I knew I just needed to stay consistent. And it was because I stayed consistent that I eventually started to see a change. Here is month 2. This is where the fat loss finally began to show visually. At this point, I'd lost another 4 kilograms. And if you look, you could see that my love handle had reduced just a little bit. My waist was no longer as wide as it used to be. But more importantly, my face and my arms, they got a lot slimmer. And this is important to understand because when you are losing fat, a majority of people are going to lose that fat in their face and their arms first. That is a sign that you are doing the right things. And because I had learned this and I knew this actually kept me motivated to see even more results. And then I got to the 3-month mark, and let me tell you, everything changed. Yes, I was still fat, but at this point you could tell that I had lost a lot of fat, at least compared to where I initially started. An important thing to take into consideration is that during this point, from the beginning of my journey, I had been lifting weights. What made this 3-month mark special was because after 3 months, my muscle definition began to grow. And this is what they don't tell you. This is what a realistic body transformation looks like, because losing fat is easy, but building muscle takes a long time. It was only after 3 months of losing fat and building muscle that just bits of my muscle began to actually show. Now, don't get me wrong, I was still fat, yes, but let me tell you, my confidence was at an all-time high. I remember thinking to myself, yes, it's finally working. I am finally seeing progress. And honestly, I did not think it would get better than this. I think one thing that really helped me during this journey was my mindset. Compared to what we see online, we see all these shredded guys, shredded girls, they are very lean, they are very muscular, and your progress compared to them seems like nothing. I knew that at this point, my transformation was really nothing to brag about. It wasn't really anything too crazy. But I also understood one thing that people forget to remember. It was still progress. Some people would see this and say, why can't I lose belly fat? I've been trying for 3 months straight, nothing is working, you know what, I quit. And as someone who has been doing this for a long time, if you are at that point right now, please do not stop. You need to keep going because you have already spent months down the line. If you stop now, all you are doing is throwing away months of progress. You need to keep going for you to actually see even better results. And more importantly, you need to keep going while appreciating the results you have currently. Finally, this is the point that I know we want to see, month 4 and 5. This was where everything changed. At this point, my transformation was completely visible. People started telling me I look different. They started asking me if I'd lost weight. They started asking me what I did to lose weight. Again, this was how I looked, and it was not anything crazy. But the important thing was I kept comparing myself from how I look now to how I initially started. And when I look back at those pictures, I realized that I had completely changed. And that's the point I'm trying to make. This fat loss journey is a process, and it's a very slow one. Not many people will tell you the truth the way I just did, and not many people can show you their step-by-step progress the way I have just shown you. And despite that, despite you looking at this and saying, wow, this guy is really cool, he was able to do this incredible thing, I'm still going to look at you in the face and tell you right now, losing fat is easy. Anybody can do it. I am not fucking special. You just need to be dedicated, have a plan to stick to, and stick to that plan consistently long enough for you to see results. I'm saying so because that is exactly all I did, and that's honestly why I made this video, so you can see a realistic timeline of how a fat loss transformation is supposed to look like, without the drugs, without all the fat loss fads, just a realistic way somebody is supposed to lose fat, at the very least how I lost my own fat. Now, I read the comments and I've noticed that a lot of people want my exact meal plans, they want my exact workout routines, they want exactly what I did to lose weight, and that's fine because I've already made fat loss programs that you can get. I've made an ebook and I've made a complete body fat to six pack course. You can get that all in the link in my description. And just for reference, this is what the program actually looks like. And just in case you want to work with me one-on-one, then you can just message me on Instagram. That being said, I hope my story inspired you to start your own fat loss journey. Wish you guys all the best. Thanks for 12k subscribers. I don't think I had said that. And have a nice one.